All right, so welcome to Seven Peaks Speaks. So this is the first meetup in this office because we just moved last month and everything's ready. So we just studying. Previously we have a webinar during the COVID. Now we back to new normal life, right? So we start doing the first meetup with the QA. So we name it and also rebranding. Some of you already in our previous meetup and you saw that our logo is an old logo and now we have changed, rebranding, new things. So back to our logos and then new office, everything will be look different and more fresh, energetic here. All right, so welcome to Seven Peaks, our new office, and also Seven Peaks Speaks. So this is another, the title we will have depends on the program. We have a Seven Peaks Speaks, we have the Seven Peaks Friday Verb for internal, and also we have the other program under the Seven Peaks. Please also try to follow and like our social media, Facebook, and also LinkedIn. You can search like Seven Peaks Software. And the thing is that we always share our activities and also our events, especially like a meetup or webinar. And also we're sharing a lot of interesting case studies and also job opening opportunities. So you can see clearly what Seven Peaks going on, what we are doing, what happened in Seven Peaks. And we always share all of our activity, internal and also external, and also other interesting topics and related case study. Yep. Right, so today, we have three sessions. So the first session we start with Alicia QA with our first speaker, and the second session get the most out of testing with Postman or Newman. After two sessions we have a break. We have pizza and beer from our beer tap, and we also have the third session. And after that we have the whole Q&A and networking. For Q&A we will have each session we have a Q&A. After session 1, session 2, session 3, if you have any questions during the session, you can raise your hand, and then we can discuss more details. Or maybe if you cannot think of any questions, and if you want to ask later, you can also ask at the last session as well. Or even that you cannot remember or what they are talking, or maybe you want to ask later, you can also drop the email to us or send the message via the Facebook. Yeah, we're trying to get back to you. If you also have any other things you're interested in. For example, we try to organize a lot of meetups in the different topics. If you have any interesting things you would like to listen from X or external speaker, you can also try to recommend X. Yeah. Again, also, as you see that we moved to the new office and our team is quite growing very fast. And we also stay hiring a lot of people right now. And if you are interested in those opening positions such as cloud, architect, or backend, front end, and also mobile developer like iOS and Android, we are looking for a lot of senior Android and mid-level Android developer as well. If you or your friends, looking for the job or looking for the challenging things to work with the international team here, yeah, you feel free to just send your CV or just check our career page, sevenpeakssoftware.com/career. You will see a lot of opening position there. Because it's good to know, once you have any friends would like to work with international software company, because we are here 20 nationalities working together. So if you don't want to work in the other countries to get the international experience, here in Thailand you can join with X to get the international environment. And we also have another program. It's also called a Seven Peaks Accelerate. This one is for junior, for someone who just graduate or just have a few 1 or 0 to 1 years of experience. So if you have any of your colleague or your junior or your sister, brothers, and family member who's interested and who graduated from the IT related, you can also recommend them to apply for this program. So we were trying to get a lot of a fresh grad or junior to be next level senior programmer by international team. Yeah. Okay, so I just would like to welcome Leif, the first speaker.
Good evening. My name is Leif. I work as head of software engineering here in Seven Peaks. Currently, we have around 40 engineers, and 8 of them are from the QA team. And right after me, we're going to hear from 2 of the QAs, going to talk about a bit of a technical stuff, so I hope you look forward to that. I just thought I would start by sharing some of my thoughts about what is the importance in the QA field in 2020. I must disclaim that I have no experience as QA. I come from the development side, so you can either take my words or don't believe them. Just first, can you raise your hand, everybody that works in the QA field? Raise your hands. More people work in the QA field. Okay. So if you were honest now, quite a lot of you don't work in QA field, so that's even more interesting. That's going to be good. The first thing I just want to mention a bit about is what I see as good characteristics, good traits in a good QA. And I won't mention kind of the usual stuff, like of course you need experience with functional testing, regression testing, creating test plans, creating test cases. These are more of the soft skills that I think is needed. The first one goes on the communication level. My experience is that QA is often the centerpiece of the team. You need to talk with other developers, product owners, scrum masters, maybe the users of the system, other stakeholders. So good communication skills, both verbally, but also written when you're actually writing the bug reports or other written is very important. What do I mean by critical thinking? I mean that you're able to see a bit outside the happy paths or whatever is written in the requirements, and then think, maybe when you look at the screen, you have an input field. What will happen if a really long string is returned from the API, or what will happen if the API returns an error? How does the system handle this? These are typical critical thinking, important thing to think about as a QA, because you might be very good at testing all the happy paths, all the happy cases, and then you're failing on all the edge cases or the different things that no one has actually defined in the requirements. Of course, detail-oriented, and there's a lot of time being spent hunting bugs, the details, maybe some other people won't notice, but also when you're actually writing the bug reports to make it easy for your fellow developers so they can easily understand what the bug is and how to fix it. It's more and more common to actually attach videos to the bug reports that might help you to not write too many words, a bit too detailed. Especially here in 7 Peaks, the QAs are very independent. They work often alone in the teams. There is no one that tells them details about what test plans they should make or what test cases they should do or how they should approach the QA. We have a QA process, and then it's up to the QAs to do the best within that process to make sure the quality in the product. So independence is very important. And of course, the 2 last one here are probably more like the general that is a good trait in all people in the IT. But team player, that you understand that your part of the team is not only the last part where you're QAing things, but you're part of the achievement of the main goal of the team to help them achieve whatever product or project you're part of. You're not only the last stop as a last column in the Kanban board or the last column in a Scrum board. And the curious and the passion to be really interested what is actually happening, both in the QA field, but also in the systems you're working in. Try maybe to dig a bit under the hood, have an interest in what's happening under whatever you're looking at the screen. QA as a first-class citizen. I think I freely transformed from another quote, I can't remember where, but what I mean by that is that the QA needs to be part of the whole process. Often we all understand that QA is part of the development phase, but QA can be part of so much more. It starts from the requirements, just to maybe find the unlogical things in the requirements. Maybe something is unclear, something is missing, something is wrong. Go up to the the architecture, the flow diagrams. You can be part of analyzing, reviewing those. And then, of course, when you go into the design and the prototypes, to find all the maybe unlogical things we have done as designers, might be that you're not following the standards for iOS, Android, web, all kind of things where you can spot the mistakes. And what is kind of the common ground here is that, of course, it's much easier and cheaper to use and spend maybe 1-2 minutes to change a requirement in a Word file or a Google Docs versus maybe spending 1 week fixing the bugs in the final system. So the earlier the QA is part of the process, the easier it is and the better quality it will be in the whole system as a whole. First bug of the day. We even have bugs in the presentation. That's interesting. And what's interesting for me is that the QA, you can come from so different backgrounds. Different background, different interest, and you can do an excellent job as a QA. You might come from a background where you're very passionate about user experience, user design, making sure you're designing the best possible user experience for the customers. You might have a technical background or very technical interest where you utilize different tools and frameworks to really find out what's happening under the hood. There we're going to see some examples later tonight how you can get started on the technical part. Maybe you have an interest in security, trying to make the most secure application you can. Maybe you're into the OWASP top 10 or other kind of security standards to really find out if you're leaking any information or are vulnerable to any insecurities. Or you might come from the business side, have 10 years experience as a user on the system and knows it in and out. And then you might transfer into automation, Catalan or other automation tools, or even if you have a technical background, strong automation interest, there's no reason why you can't also move into DevOps. So with a QA, you can come from a very different background, you can have very different interests, and you still can do an excellent job in the QA field. And of course, if you have the big enough team, and you have all these kind of different interests in the team, you have a very strong basis to have a very solid QA team. I just want to say a couple of words about automation. Automation is very trendy at the moment. Everybody wants to automate practically everything in the world, it seems like. And that's good on a certain level and might be a little problematic on another level. So, in my opinion, if you go into automation and think that, okay, then you can replace all the manual QAs in the company, then you just have some scripts running, then you probably have the wrong angle for this. Automation and manual QA goes hand in hand. It's just different things you're trying to solve. What should you automate? You can start by the things you define as business critical. If you're a banking app, you might automate the payment flow because you really want to make sure that the payment is up 24/7. Boring regression tests that every QA hates to do, maybe every week or every second week when you're doing releases, do the same test cases that you've done 100 times before and they always work. Might be a good automation. And then you have the time-consuming task. If you have maybe something you need to set up some data before, you need to run the scripts, you need to tear down the data afterwards. It takes a long time manually, but it might take only a few seconds if you automate it. Typically, good examples of automation. On the other hand, if you try to automate things that have changing requirements, and what I mean by changing requirements, it's typically maybe products in the initial phases where you're testing different stuff. Maybe you're A/B testing, you're user testing different features, changing them based on feedback on the users. If you try to automate those things, you might be in a bit of a trouble. If you just created the features and you're launching them, it might be a good idea to let them settle a bit, do the changes, and then automate it. And typically ad hoc test, exploratory tests might be hard to automate. I'm not saying it can't be done, but what you often will then see is the maintenance cost of this going through the roof, and you will spend most of your time fixing broken scripts or other broken things, except actually testing stuff, because your test will be broken all the time, and probably in the end you will just see them as red test all the time, so it doesn't have any value. So be aware of the maintenance cost, and then be also specific on what kind of level you want to automate on. Maybe in the payment flow, it's enough to know that you have a payment button and that you can trigger it. You don't probably need to know that the button is 20 pixels wide and it has a red background. The more details you put into the automation, the more times it will break and the costlier it will get. Just some practical tips. The first one seems very logical and very easy, but if you deep inside you have a mindset that the QA is someone that comes in the end of the projects and they just tell you that everything is broken, then you probably need to work a bit on your mindset about the QA does before you're able to prioritize them. And someone needs to own the QA, someone needs to have the real passion for the QA. It might be a tech lead, it might be others, but someone really needs to drive and enforce on the QA standards. And as the same as we have a standardized development process where we often describe how do you develop the software, you describe how you create the tickets, how you do the pull request, how you do the deployment, you should have the same for the QA, so we have one standard process that is enforced across all the projects you're running. And as I showed before, QA always needs to be involved from the start. And if you have these different QA types that I mentioned before, you have a very strong foundation for a very strong team. Work as one team, again, very basic, but if you have a Scrum team where you have different kind of roles, it's very easy to start a blame game if you have any issues. Maybe the quality of your system is not as good as you were hoping for. And then it's easy to blame the QA because the QA didn't find the bugs right. Then you need to look at the whole team as a whole. QA is not responsible for the quality of the system. That's the team that's responsible for the quality of the system. If you have issues with your quality, you need to look at all different roles. Maybe QA can do something better. Maybe you have issues with your test environment, your test data. Maybe you have issues with your development process, how you do code reviews. Maybe you have issues with how you write the requirements, how you do the design. And there's probably a lot of small issues across the whole team that makes the difference. QA is not the one that is mainly responsible for the quality of the product. That is the teams that's responsible for. And it's nice to have some good tools also. Generally, I know that QAs love Excel and Google Sheets. In general, that's their favorite tools. But a good test management tool just to start up that can handle the test cases, the test plans, give you some free reports so you don't need to do the manual work when you're doing the UAT or you're doing the sprint reviews or whatever you're doing. There are tools that can help you with all of this. Issue tracking, you have everything from the great beast Jira to the lightweight and free Trello, whatever suit your needs. And then we go into the really fun stuff that our two excellent QAs going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Postman, Fiddler, Newman. How can you utilize these type of tools in your testing? And if you're interested in dipping into the automation world, but is not quite sure about what to do, and maybe you don't have the most technical background experience, Catalan is a very good and easy framework to start with. Oh, hello. We're back. Okay, that was bug number 2. Let's see how many bugs we have before we're end of tonight. Okay, so I'm on the last slide now before we let Urvita take the stage. And I started with saying unleash the QA, and I will We're having possibility of doing a lot of different works that maybe not part of the default things you think about when you think about QA. We can gather requirements. QA can easily write specifications, can help with architecture, can help with QA development, and can do different roles like Scrum Master, Team Lead, PM, PO. Basically, all the roles in the development lifecycle can be made by the QAs. And I know a lot of people think that Scrum Master, Team Lead, these kind of roles, you need to be a developer to do these roles, and I completely disagree with that. It's much more about what kind of mindset and interest you have. Often the best QAs might even come, or the best Scrum Master and Team Leads might easily be a QA, or they might be developers. It doesn't really matter. Both can do the work, the job. So that was basically the introduction before the really interesting stuff starts up with the technical walkthrough of Postman, Newman, Fiddler. So now I'll leave the stage for Urvita.
Good evening, all. I am Urvita and I work here as a software QA engineer in Seven Peaks. So today I'll be mainly talking about API testing, how you can make your API testing more interesting and easy using the tools Postman and Newman. So let's begin. So the agenda for today is API testing. I'll show you how you can work with Postman, Newman, then I'll speak about the benefits of Postman and Newman, and then we'll end with the conclusion. So before I start, I just want to ask that have any one of you practiced API testing in your career? Okay, so I see some hands up. So can you just tell me one benefit for API testing? Anyone? Okay, let's begin. So what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. So in any of the application, we have three layers. That is presentation layer, business layer, and the database layer. So our API testing will be done in the business layer. So the prerequisite to start your API testing is that you should have the API documentation with you. And once you have that, you can start with your test, and this will help you to check the functionality of your programming interfaces. And this tests are very different if you compare it with the GUI test because you do not have the look and feel of the application. Now this has many benefits like earlier testing. So you don't have to wait for the front end to develop a GUI for you. You can just start your test once the business logic is ready. It is very easy to maintain because every business logic have a different API and every API is an independent of each other. So it's very easy to maintain it. And as I mentioned, it is independent of each other. You know where the system is failing, so it is very easy to catch the bug and you can triage the bug and the resolution time is very fast, and you can cover more amount of testing in less time because if you compare it with GUI test, there are 3000 tests you can complete in 50 minutes if you take API, and 3000 API GUI tests will be covered in 30 hours. So that is the major benefit of API testing. Now, what is Postman and Newman? Postman and Newman are nothing but the tools which you should use. I recommend you to use in your API testing. That is because you don't need to have any knowledge of coding if you use Postman. It is like free, you can download it from the website. It's very easy to use and it can be integrated with Newman. Now, speaking about Newman, what is Newman? It is nothing but just a command line runner. You can use it for Postman. You can run your Postman collections through Newman. And again, it is free. You can just install it. It works for all kind of operating system like Linux, Windows, Macs. And you can automate your API tests when you just start working with Newman. So this is how Postman looks like. So if you see here, this is the, sorry. This is the new button. You can just create a new collection or create a new API with this. Now in your team you have your colleagues who have developed few APIs or collections, and you can just import it through a link or a collection file using this import button. And once this is done, you can just set up your and manage your test collection in this collection tab. This is the main place where you will organize all your test suites. You can select an HTTP method like get, post, etc. using in this tab. And this is the place where you will have an API URL. API URL is nothing but just the endpoint. And once you click send, you will see the response here. If your API is working perfectly, it will be 200. And if it have any error or something, it will be 404, 400, etc. So you need to check why your API is failing. And API Postman also provides some feature that you can work within multiple environments, that is staging, dev, etc. So you can just create your environment here, add the specific variables like URL and anything in the environment, and then you can use all your test collection in different environments. So this is the Postman screenshot. Now once you are 100% sure that your collections are working fine in Postman and you are just ready to run it from the command line, you can start working with Newman. So if you want to install Newman, the prerequisite is that you should have Node.js installed in your system. So once you have Node.js installed, you can just follow the command -g Newman, and that will install the Newman globally on your system. Now once you have Newman, there are two ways you can run your collection. One is through the collection file and one is through the collection link. If you want to run it through a collection file, you can just export it from the Postman collection, store it on your local PC, and then give the path over here followed by the command Newman run and the name of the file. And if you have the link, again it's the same way. You can just add Newman run and give the link of the collection. Now this is completely okay if you don't have any environment file. But what if you want to check your collections are running in all the environments, example staging, UAT, etc. So what you can do is you can export your collection file, store it on your local PC, and then just use the same command and just add -e and the name of the environment file. So you can make sure your collections are working in each and every environment through command line. So this is the example how you can work with Newman using command line. So you can see I have used collection link. So Newman run, the link of the collection and the name of the file. So when you execute this, you can see something like this. You will see the details here of the request, like get Google, I have just API over here, and the aggregated report of your collections. Now you saw that we have the aggregated report of your collection, but it is also possible for you to generate HTML reports and export it later. So what you need to do is you just need to install an HTML reporter, and using the command install -g Newman reporter HTML. And after you have reporter install, you can just use this command, the same command which we used earlier, and just add reporters is equals to CLI HTML. Once you execute this, one folder will be created in your local source folder named Newman, and all your reports will be saved in that folder. So if you want to see the report, just go to your source folder, check the Newman folder is created, and just open the report which has been generated for you. So this is how the Newman report looks like. You can see the name of the collection, you will see the time when it is executed, all the aggregated report, and the details of each and every request which is executed will be shown here below. You can see the URL, you can see the method, you can see the status code, etc. So you can easily analyze which is failing and which is passing. Now we'll come to the benefits of Postman and Newman. Like you can easily create test suites. You just don't have to, you can create test suites in the Postman collection tab as per your application requirements, and each test will run one after another. So it is very easy to maintain your test and create test suites in the Postman, you can just store information running different in different environments. Now, for example, you just created all your collection and you are just confirming that it's working fine for one environment. What if you want to see does it work well with a different environment? So Postman allows you the features to just add specific information into the variable like base URL, and then you can just use the environment file and run the same collection in different environments. Now this is like you have one API which is like add an employee, and you want to use the response of that API into a different API for update employee. So that is also possible. You can capture the response, store it, and use that into a different API. So this will mainly help you for your API automation. And it's very easy to export your tests and test files from Postman. You can just export it and just set it into code repositories like Git. And again, this is the I feel this is the big advantage, because you can integrate your Newman with systems like Jenkins. And once you have done this, it is possible you can schedule your regression test. You can do it for daily, monthly, or weekly, and or as per your needs. And it is also possible to generate reports and export it later. And all these test scripts will be stored in the Bitbucket. So here is the small video of Postman and Newman. So here we'll just create a collection. We'll name the collection. We'll add one request over here. We'll name our request. And we'll save it to our collection which we created. We'll select the method. Our method is get for now. And we'll add the URL of our API. Just save it, click on send. You can see the response here. It is 200, so our API is working fine. I can even add the test. I'll just select a snippet which is provided by Postman. Click on send, and you can see the results here in the test tab. Now I'll create one environment file. Now I have an environment named staging in my project, so I'll just create one environment staging. I'll create one variable base URL, and I'll store the staging URL into the base URL variable. So done, our environment file is added. It is very easy. Now instead of giving the URL hard coded, you can just call the variable which we created here. Once it is done, just select the environment in which you want to run your collections and click on send. You can see it is working. So now we'll use the Postman collection runner to check our collection is working fine, and it is 100% success. So now it is good to go with Newman. I'll just get the shareable link for the collection using edit collection. And we will export the environment file and save it on our local PC. So it is exported successfully. Now this is command prompt. First we'll navigate to our source folder. Now I'll add the command Newman run. We'll just paste the collection link here and add the name of the environment file. So you can see it's working. Now we'll use the same command and add the reporters tag to generate reports. Once this is executed, you won't see any reports here on the command prompt. You have to navigate to your source folder and check the Newman folder. So now I'll just go to the Newman folder in my source folder and see the report is created. So it's very easy to just work with Postman and Newman. I'll just end with my presentation with the conclusion. So it's like you can start your API testing with Postman, you can automate it with Newman, and just later you can just integrate it with Jenkins to schedule your runs. Thank you. If you have any questions, please. There's
Hello. Okay. I have a big question. Yeah. So as I see from the presentation, so we need, as a user, so we need to know a bit of the command line, something like this. Whatever I used, something like Mac OS or Windows, something like that, right? Isn't it?
Hello.
Okay.
You need to have a basic knowledge of command line so that you can navigate to your source folder and execute your scripts.
So it's the benefit for user if user have the basic knowledge,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So they can like pass the argument or like a parameter, whatever they want to pass on the Newman, isn't
Yes.
it? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I just wanted to know, like, when you were running your collection through the link, would you say that's standard practice, or which one do you prefer, from the local file or from the link?
I prefer it from the link, but if you have a workspace and you are working in a team, then I prefer that you export it and save it in your desktop and then run it.
But when you're running from the link, like I'm seeing your script is getting uploaded to getpostman.com, which is a third-party server or something like that. Aren't you exposing, I mean, the security? Because the API is like a very business layer of the application, right?
Okay. Okay, so I actually practice through the link, but when we used to work in a workspace, we used to download our collections and then run it with the path.
Or but it's uploaded on Postman server, right? Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, why? I mean, isn't it a bit? You're exposing your security to the. Oh, okay, maybe. Oh, okay. All right. Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
First, very nice office. Congrats.
Thank you.
I have one question regards with Postman. In I use a Postman and Newman already to do the testing, right?
Yeah.
But you only can test the routes, right? The endpoints. You cannot assert into the values in the response, right? Or you do some assertions in the response as well.
No, we cannot do any assertions in the response, but we can add the request body in the endpoints.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you only check if you send the request and the status code was okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have some question about when you use a Postman, how and Newman, how you manage your testing data.
Testing data.
Yeah. Because before we run the test, we have to set up all the test data, right? So you
Yes.
have to, and because of the if you we not set up the data will cannot repeatable.
Yes.
Right.
So if you have a problem, like suppose example, like you want to add an employee, then ID should not duplicate. So there is an inbuilt feature provided by Postman. So you can just concatenate it with your request and just add the variable there. So whenever you run a request, it will just create the multiple random IDs for you. So you won't have a problem of data duplication.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Cyril. Yeah, for the session 3. Welcome, Cyril.
Hello. So I will be the last one to present. So I'll make these things fast for you so we can go home on time. So just a short introduction about myself. I'm Sai. I graduated last year and I'm junior QA here. Um, no, kidding. I'm a senior QA here in Seven Peaks. I've been working here for 1 year, going 2 years. And total years of experience is 6 years in testing. So, yeah. So, my topic is all about Fiddler and how I use Fiddler in my testing. It's not only about the test data, but um, also how I use different features in Fiddler. So I assume that everyone here has experienced being frustrated in their testing, especially in testing some simple features in their application, right? And that is because of having lack of test data. So I think the main reason why I'm using Fiddler right now is because of that same reason, because of test data. So I remember before that was last year, where my project manager has suggested me to use Fiddler in my testing. And up until now, I'm still using Fiddler. So I hope after this presentation, you guys will learn something. So, yeah. So what is Fiddler? So Fiddler is defined as in their website as a debugging proxy for any browsers, for any application that uses proxy. But basically, Fiddler is a data monitoring tool that allows us to see HTTPS traffic, both incoming and outgoing from server to client. So aside from that, there are also other features we can use in Fiddler, like we can see traffic. And also aside from that, we can mock up request and response. Later, I'll show you a clip on how to do those things. Other than that, Fiddler is also available in Windows. And in their latest version right now, I think that was released this year, first quarter, they are now supporting Mac, and they also supports Linux. They have updated their UI, so I think it's much better now. Also, Fiddler is a free software, so you can try and check if Fiddler is good for you. And they have this paid version where they have features, additional features, and like email support and some features like full access to extended features. And yeah. Please tell me if I'm going too fast or if you have any questions, okay? So here are the features and benefits that we can do in Fiddler. First is we can easily observe traffic from any application that uses proxy and decrypt HTTPS web sessions. So this first 2 points is what I'm using. Is what I use for checking the API endpoints, the error codes, or whether we're calling the correct endpoints or if there are any duplicates. I can easily check it in Fiddler. It's like the web development tool in the web browser, the F12. But you can appreciate this feature in when you're testing mobile applications. Third point, we can tamper client requests and server responses. This is what I use for making up my test data. If I am having trouble with my test data, I can mock my test data. Fourth point, can be used for debugging web traffic. We can see traffic and inspect them, what we are sending to the server, whether they are correct, and also we can check the encrypted one that we're getting from the server. And we can also use Fiddler for security testing. I don't have much experience on this one, but what I can suggest you guys can do is you can check the application that you have in production. You can use Fiddler and check whether there are any traffic that is sensitive, and you can use Fiddler and see if there are any sensitive data that that should not be there. Then if there are any sensitive data, you can maybe raise it to your team and then tell them that you are seeing some data that should not be supposed to see in production. So next, a quick setup flow for Fiddler. This one is easy. I have divided this into three. Three. And I think the first time I have installed Fiddler, it only took me around 1 week. And no. Actually, it only took me 5 days. 5 hours. So the first step is you need to go to their website. So where are we? Yeah. Go to their website and download Fiddler. Once you have downloaded Fiddler, you can configure Fiddler server. So you can check in their website. The steps that they have there is quite detailed. And for these first 2 steps, it will only take you around not more than 30 minutes. So the next step would be configuring the Fiddler client. This one is the tricky one. So if you're testing using the web app, usually you're only using the same machine. So you don't need to do the network proxy. You just need to install the certificate. It will be exported in the desktop and then install it. Then after that, you can see the traffic in Fiddler already. But if you're using a mobile application, that is much more difficult, tricky to set up. So for mobile, you need to set up first the network proxy. So you need to change the IP. You can check it in Fiddler and then set the port number. Which usually the default one is 8888. So after you have set up the network proxy, you need to go to this link, IPB for Fiddler 888, and download the certificate from there. And once you have downloaded it, you need to install the certificate. So for Android, it's much easier because after you install it, it will automatically be trusted. But for iOS, you have this extra step. Certificate trust setting. This one is not mentioned in their website, so I think you need to take note of this one. So after these steps, you're done. You can use Fiddler now. So here I will discuss with the UI components of Fiddler. You can see that there are a lot of things going on here, and there are a lot of tabs, but I tell you that I'm only using a few one, and you can do a lot of things. So on the left side, you can see the web session list. This is where we can see the traffic, the one that is the one that we're sending and the one that we're getting from the server. And here we can see the error codes that we are getting, 200, 500, 400. We can also see the host. I usually just filter out the host name that I am using or I am testing. And we can see here in the URL column, this is where I check the endpoints, whether we're getting duplicate endpoints or whether we're calling the right endpoints. So next, on the right side, we have the working area. This is where I check what we're getting from the left. So I have divided this into two sections. The action tabs, you see here we have 10 tabs, but I am only using 3 tabs here: the inspectors, the filters, and the autoresponder. So for filters, this is where I put all the host name of the application that I'm testing. So I will filter out all the traffic here that we can see on the left side. Then you need to enable the use filter so it will take effect. So the other tab is the autoresponder. This autoresponder, I will show you later how I use it, but this is for mocking up the response we're getting from the server to display in the UI. And the other tab is the inspector. This is the inspectors. If you want to see more details about what we have selected on the left side, we can check it here. We can see what the requests that we're sending from the server and the response. The request is the response that we can get from here can be decrypted by Fiddler, so it's quite useful for debugging. So here I will show you a clip on how I do the HTTPS traffic checking. Yeah. This is the application that I am testing on the left side, and on the right side is the Fiddler. Notice that every time I change the screen or do an action, it will be registered on the left side on Fiddler. Here I entered a product. I'm making a new product, a new machine. And notice that I'll get an error. So if we're only using or checking only in the UI and we get this generic error, it will stop because we don't know what happens, right? But if you're using Fiddler, you can see details about this error. So I checked this 400 error that we are getting. And yeah, I check first what the request that we're sending, so it's valid. And then I go to the response. Here I notice that we are getting error code, detailed error codes from the response, so I can check with the team or the developers that at least we should have this error message displayed in the UI, so the user of the application will not get confused, right? So that is the first feature that I'm using. This one is like the F12 in web browsers, right? But you can appreciate this feature if you're testing using mobile application, because you don't have this F12 feature in mobile application. So yeah. The next video a clip that I'll be showing you is about playing around response error. So usually in testing application, it is not specified how we should handle error codes, right? But I think in our testing, we should try to at least check the common error codes that we are getting, whether the application can handle them nicely, whether the application will not crash if we get 500 or 400. So here, this is the application that I am testing. I entered my number, and it's getting 200 response. So I'm able to see this OTP screen. I copied this traffic into autoresponder. So after I have moved this traffic, I edit. So instead of 200, now I want to get 500 error code. So I go to response header, 200, and then there's a drop down. You can see that there are a lot of error codes that we can use. And yeah, I selected 500. Then after that, I save and close. Then you need to enable the rules so it will take effect. So instead of the response coming from the server, we will get it from Fiddler. So I go to login page again, enter my number. Click next, and then I get this terms and conditions. And then now I'm getting the service error. So it's good that the application is not crashing after we get this 500. So this is the other feature that I'm using in Fiddler. So the last clip that I'll be showing you is how I mock responses. So if I have problem with my test data, this is how I do it. So notice this is the application that I'm testing. I only have one invoice here, and the one that I want to test is status. In this invoice, I have 607 days overdue, and it should change depending on the days overdue of the invoice. But I only have one, so what I do is I mocked it. I change the due date. So I load this page. This is the traffic that I'm getting. I move the traffic here in autoresponder. Then after I moved it, I edit. Yeah. And then I go to the raw tab. Yeah. Then I look for that specific invoice. Then I changed the due date from 2018. I changed it to 2020 August. So I can have a different status. It should not be overdue, right? And then I click save. And then I close. Then you need to click the enable rules so it will take effect. So now we can see that the status changed from 607 days overdue to 2 days. Due in 2 days, the color changes. So you don't, even if I have a very limited test data, with Fiddler I can mock. So yeah. So summary. But before we go to the summary, can I ask someone if they can give me at least one benefits or features we have in Fiddler? At least one. Anyone? No? Again, sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Yeah. So for the summary, we have discussed what Fiddler is. It is a data monitoring tool that that checks traffic, both incoming and outgoing. We also have discussed the features and benefits of using Fiddler, and I have shown you some clips on how I use Fiddler, and I have shown you some quick flow on how to set up Fiddler. I have also shown you the UI components of Fiddler. So for this presentation, I just want you to keep in mind what are the features that we can do in Fiddler, like HTTPS traffic, web debugging, and request and response mocking. So I hope that this tool will be able to help you in your testing. So now Q&A. Do you guys have any questions? Please be easy on me. Okay. Any questions? No questions. Nice.
Can you automate Fiddler in a kind of command line? Or you always need to use the UI?
Actually, that is a nice question. a tough one. Can we have another questions?
Okay.
No. I don't know, but I don't think that we can automate Fiddler.
Okay.
I usually just use Fiddler manually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So we have a gift from Alibaba Cloud for someone who,
Nice.
yeah, the more you ask question, you will get more. Just kidding.
No.
Okay, I have another
Sai, should I buy the premium version?
No, actually it depends on how you use Fiddler. What I suggest you, if you want to just use it for your own testing, you can just use the free version. But if you're the company, there are a lot of collaboration happening in your testing. I think you can do for paid version because the paid version is more an enterprise use. Yeah.
Let's say if I like to capture the traffic from the other devices, let's say mobile phone or the tablet, is it possible to do so?
Yeah, it's possible as long as you're able to set up the proxy from the device. Then you can check traffic from tablet, iPhone, Android devices. And yeah. No, yeah, another question. Why?
Okay. I see the Fiddler can record
Yeah.
request and response. In this case, if you want to bring this record to stop for testing the backend service, like we have to connect to the third-party API. The Fiddler can suit for that.
Yeah, we can do recording and saving of traffic. So if we want to test it later on a new version of the application, we can reuse that traffic. But for the free version that we have, it's only limited the traffic that we can record.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Just thank you.
How you deal with the microservice? Like if we had a lot of the service that you observe, is that possible to observe all the service? Right, I have 5 or 6 service that work like HTTP chain, something like that. Is it possible?
Yeah, for the traffic, if I am seeing a lot, I just use filters. So aside from filters, what I usually do is just check what API the application should have. I don't check all the services that we are getting. It depends. Yeah.
So you what that you use is for the client side and back, servers, right? Only, right?
We can see all traffics from client and from server.
Yeah.
But we can just filter out what the host name of the application we're testing.
Okay.
So you can see much less in the traffic on the left side of Fiddler.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think
Any questions?
No more.
We have more hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I just want to know that if can we use the same certificate that we install in the mobile for can we reuse the certification?
so. If you're going to, I think that is not possible because for every application you need to install their own certificate because of there's an ID in certificate that needs to be unique for every devices. So yeah, you cannot use it the same certificate for every devices that you're using.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
For API testing, which one do you prefer to use for testing with compare with Postman?
Nice question. Yeah, I think Postman and Fiddler is different tools. If I'm only doing API testing, I prefer Postman. But if I will do more than API testing, if I have UI, if I want to check the traffic if from client to server, or if I want to mock up my test data, I will use Fiddler. So for API testing, I will still use Postman. So yeah, I hope I answer your questions.
Hello, I have a question.
No more. Yeah.
No more? One last one.
No more.
For push notification, can we check?
No more.
Whoa. For push notification, can we check the payload in Fiddler?
Yeah, yes, we can check the payload.
And can we send a push notification for devices and change the payload?
I think we can in server in request, but I'm not sure. Maybe I can get back to you on that.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good, right? Yeah, thank you.
No more questions? Okay.